This dress is kind of fake vintage, but by now it is actually proper vintage. Very much follows those kind of 1940s lines. The big collar, the waistline, the bow at the back, and that kind of really lovely noisy material.
So this chain, this teddy bear chain, is basically just a teddy bear bought from a charity shop and then just cut its head off and attached it to a chain, which is cool, which is inspired by like a Japanese style, kind of kwai styles. I think kwai is how you pronounce it. And then the jacket, all of the fabric from the jacket is from stock that would have been thrown away, stock that would have been put in a landfill. So it's just kind of taking stock that would have been thrown away and then repurposing it and reusing it and recycling it. So at the back there's a pocket from a pair of jeans, an old pair of jeans.
And here we have a couple of hats. This is probably my favourite. I love the fact that it's 100% cotton, apparently, supplied by Windsor House in Solihull, and it's a really classic style, very 30s, very kind of you could imagine this kind of being very much the kind of like film star style hat.
Like you have this bag, which I can't remember where I got it from, but just thought I'd stitch the bag onto the jacket. But also the jacket's not necessarily finished. I think it's still a work in progress. I think it needs a bit of refining, but it's slowly getting there. And I think this is the important thing. And also this hat was found, I think I found it somewhere.
Like vintage fashion, when you wear something from like the 80s or something, it's like, not that you pretend you're from the 80s obviously, but it's just, you know, you've got an element of that history at that time. You know, you feel connected to it almost.
So what does vintage style mean to you?
I think vintage style is a throwback to a different era. I think it's an era that's past. I think it really helps kind of cement the future of fashion. I think you have to look back in order to look forward as well.
There's never really multiple items of the same thing because it's like usually a one-off thing.
In terms of why people choose vintage, people know it works. They know that they're buying, if they're buying original vintage, the kind of item that will last for years and years and years, rather than something that will fall apart after a few washes.
It's all about the know. It's all about, you know, you have to be in the know. You have to know the places. Like I didn't find out about Cow, a big vintage shop in Birmingham, until about, I think I must have been about 15 or something. So even though I'd been wearing vintage clothes and stuff for longer before then. And then there's even like there's even a shop behind Cow, which I don't think tons of people know about. And it's like it hasn't got a big shop front or anything. It's literally just like 2 doors into this warehouse. Places like London have lots and lots of vintage places, but you have to know where they are, you know. Because I don't think they have masses of advertisements like places like ASOS or, you know, H&M or something.
In terms of the environmental side of things, what do you think fast fashion is doing to the environment?
There is a fairly vast carbon footprint in respect of the actual making of clothes. So making that cheaply does quite often lead to them being made in China in incredibly bad conditions. Essentially, it is a version of modern slavery.
It would be good for vintage clothes to become more fashionable, especially for fashion companies to push vintage clothes more into fashion, because that would definitely be better for the environment, because then we're reusing clothes for longer, producing less waste. Some fabrics and polyesters and stuff aren't like biodegradable, so they end up breaking down into like these microplastics which get dumped into the ocean and affect organisms in the sea. But I'm definitely not saying that it's all bad, because it would be a massive disadvantage to someone like me to not have access to fast, cheap fashion, because I like to stay looking fresh at all times.
I think that people should potentially look at charity shops and that kind of thing as a more viable option if they do want to have that level of frequency of change of outfit.
I saw a programme the other day on ITV, I think it was one of the ITVs, I can't remember, talking about the wasteful industry of fashion and how it's like very harmful for the environment. And if people did switch to recycling their clothes and, you know, re-wearing, going to charity shops and stuff, it would decrease the demand.
What do you think the future is like for vintage style?
I think the future of vintage style is positive. I think with a lot more, now we've got a lot more accessibility to vintage clothes. I think it'd be more of a trend rather than relying so heavily on ready-made and fast fashion and throwaway fashion and things that harm and more fashion that harms the environment. I think the fact is we have apps like Depop and we have, you know, Grail and people can buy clothes.
I think the 60s is my favourite just because the colours.
I mean, 70s is amazing because it just taste forgot that decade.
It's a really beautiful style. It's kind of imagining in the 1960s how we would look if we went to space.